Good evening, this is Masterpiece Theater with your host Ethan Kincaid, and tonight we will be discussing Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. Ender Wiggin is the third in a family of child geniuses. Families were only allowed to have 2 kids, but the government gave his parents permission to have one more, so they could breed a general to beat the enemy and save the world from destruction. Before being chosen, Ender wears a unique monitor that allows the heads of the military to see everything through Ender's own eyes. Ender's brother Peter and his sister Valentine also wore this monitor, although neither was selected, nor did they have it for as long as Ender, and Peter is mad at Ender for this. Peter hates Ender, and even when the monitor is taken out, it does nothing to decrease Peter's anger. The same is true of Ender's schoolmates, and he is forced to brutally beat the leader of a gang of bullies to protect himself. Although Valentine tries to protect Ender from Peter, he is only saved from his brother when Colonel Graff of the International Fleet comes to take Ender away to battle school. Ender leaves behind Valentine, who loves him, in order to help save the world from the enemy, who are called buggers. Battle school is located on a spaceship far from Earth. On the flight, Ender demonstrates his ability to visualize gravitational effects, so Graff begins to isolate him from his fellow classmates in order to train him to be a leader. Ender lives with the new recruits, called launchies. He makes a few friends among the recruits and ends his isolation. Though his brilliance still causes resentment, inside the ballroom, Ender figures out how to maneuver in null gravity, along with another recruit named Ali. Ender and Ali become friends, and this helps Ender fit in with the rest of the group. Ender manages to get farther in one of the computer games called the Mind Game than anyone else had before him. Ender is abruptly promoted to Salamander Army. There, Ender is befriended by Petra Arcanian, the only girl in the army. The army commander, Bonzo Madrid, does not like Ender and does not want him around. Ender practices with Petra and begins to teach his launch group what he knows. Ender helps the army by disobeying Bonzo, who hates Ender, but fortunately Ender is traded to the Rat Army. Ender is put in Dink Meeker's platoon. Dink is an excellent toon leader, and Ender does well in battles. He continues teaching his launchies even though this causes resentment among other soldiers. Ender gets into a fight and he hurts 4 older boys who attack him. It is clear to Ender that the teachers are leaving him to fend for himself. Meanwhile, Peter has convinced Valentine that it is time for them to assert themselves. Peter has unlimited ambition, and he is intelligent enough to try to manipulate world events. Valentine agrees to work with him because she wants their impact to be a positive one. Disguised on the internet, they soon begin to gain influence. By this time, Ender is 9 years old and a platoon leader in Phoenix Army under Petra's command. Everyone respects his brilliance, and his practice sessions are attended by many, but he is depressed and is stuck in the mind game. Colonel Graff comes to visit Valentine and has her write Ender a letter. The memory of Valentine helps Ender to ground himself, and he is able to continue in the mind game, which is a great relief to his teachers. Ender is made commander of Dragon Army and given a group of soldiers, most of them launchies. The smallest one, Bean, is very bright for his age, much like Ender was, and Bean proves himself in practice sessions. Ender's army is given an unusually high number of battles to face, with advantages given to the enemies, and he wins every one. Each toon of his army acts as an independent unit, and this dramatically changes battleroom strategy. Bonzo is humiliated when Ender beats him. Bonzo attacks Ender in the shower room, and Ender beats him brutally because he was forced to. Ender is then transferred out of battle school. The government figured out Valentine and Peter are behind the political posts, but have decided to leave them alone. Valentine visits Ender while he is given a brief vacation, and it is clear that things have changed between them. Graf takes Ender to Eros, the planet that holds the International Fleet Command, and there Ender is introduced to Mesa Rackham, the hero of the Bugger invasion, who saved mankind. Rackham runs Ender through a series of simulated battles where he now commands an entire fleet. Ender learns that the Buggers are like highly evolved insects, and they communicate instantly because their queen thinks for all of them. Ender begins to have strange dreams about the Buggers. He fights harder and harder battles until one day he fights a huge battle where he blows up a whole planet and wins. However, he realizes that it was a real battle and not a game for practice. He completely destroyed the Buggers. Ender was used by his teachers, but they explained that they needed him, a child, to have the compassion to understand the enemy. At the same time, they needed him to think that it was a game in order to be able to win with even a great loss of life. Meanwhile, Peter is taken over control of Earth, and Valentine convinces Ender to set off with her on a colonization mission to populate the worlds left behind by the Buggers. Before he goes, Ender learns that he did kill Bonzo, as well as the bully back in school. On the new planet, Ender finds an area that he realizes looks just like the mind game, and he realizes that the Buggers had prepared for his coming. They had looked into his mind and knew he would defeat them. He finds a queen egg left behind for him to find a place for the Buggers to live again. Ender can think to the queen and sees that the Buggers did not truly wish to fight the humans, and feels their sorrow for all that happened. Ender decides to make it his mission to find a place for the Buggers to live. I hope you have enjoyed this episode of Masterpiece Theater. This is your host, Ethan Kincaid, saying goodnight.